You want to get started with SSRS, but you don't know how to figure it out or how to configure it, or you started learning SSRS and you want to start practicalizing. Now, in this video, I'm going to be talking about how to configure SSRS the right way. First of all, welcome to my cyberspace. Now, let's get right into it. I would say that I know there are going to be different audience watching this video, and you might have some of the tools that are needed to be installed before you get started with SSRS, which is SQL Server Reporting Service. And there are some things I would mention that you might just want to skip to the other part of the video. So let's get started with it. So first of all, if you've started working on SQL Server, like SQL, you have a SQL Server already installed, like you might want to skip the first few minutes of this video. So let's say you go to your search menu and you search for SQL Server Configuration Manager, whatever here is showing. If you have this already, so let me try to open this up. So if this is showing for you and your SQL Server is running, right? So that's one of the things. I mean, you might want to skip the first few minutes of this video, but in case you don't have SQL Server installed, another thing also is you also want to search if you have SSMS. Remember, SSMS is different from SSRS. SSMS is SQL Server Management Studio. That is, and I know in my other videos I've broken this down. There's SQL Server, there's SSMS, there's SSRS, there's SSAS. There's just a bunch of all those SSS. But let's break it down a little bit. SQL is the language that we're writing. SQL Server is the flavor, and that's what we are using. So this SQL Server was what I first of all searched. That's the configuration. That's the SQL Server. This is SQL Server. Now we can't just start coding in SQL Server itself. That is why we have to have SSMS, so that it's going to be a very user-friendly interface. And in case you don't also have this, we are going to walk you through all the process. But I have a video in a different series which I'm going to be linking to this video that explains to you how to install SQL Server and how to install SQL Server Management Studio. So we need those two to be able to get to use SSRS. So just bear with me. So if you have this running, and let's say at some point you opened your SQL Server Management Studio. Let me try to open up my SQL Server Management Studio, and I try to connect, and you're like able to connect properly. So just want to try to reconnect again. You're able to connect properly. Some of you, in case you make sure you have trust service certificates, most likely it's going to be, so we'll need the name that is here, and if you don't have anything here, that's still fine. So far you're able to connect, then most of the issues that you might have is solved already. So let's go to the first few things. Is, like I said, if you don't have SQL Server, so just to get you, we want to install SSRS, SQL Server Reporting Service, but we need a bunch of tools to do that. So you just say install SQL Server. So when you go to install SQL Server, I have the SQL Server already installed. There are different ways you can install SQL Server. Just make sure that you are using so there is a developer edition, there's express edition. You could use, I prefer using the developer edition, but you could just use express edition. Just make sure that whatever you used, that either is express or developer edition, that is what we are going to select when we want to install something else, and that's what we want to install is the SSRS configuration. So let's assume I just want to install SQL Server Express. You download. The installation process is quite simple. Just click on this. It asks you just do basic download, accept license, install, and I'm going to pause this because I don't want this. So by the time you have this installed already, so just going to cancel. So I want to cancel the installation. So in case you want to go to details about installation, you can just follow through the step. Either you follow through to the step or you go and watch my other video on how to install SQL Server. So after you do that, you then need to also install so when you do this, you install the SQL Server. So for you to know that it's working probably well, you just need to search for SQL Server Configuration Manager, and it's going to pop up for you. So if it pops that up, then it means that you have SQL Server running in itself. So let's try to open up the SQL Server that's running. So it says I have SQL Server running, and I could just check the properties. So I have, that's everything is running. In case yours is not running, you can stop, pause, restart in case something is not working. So in case you're not sure like what your name is, you can come here, and when you open your SQL Server, this host name, that is, we need this, so you can copy this. It's the same name that I also used in my SQL Server Management Studio, because that name is probably going to be a different name on your device. So that might be some of the issues that you might face, but I already know mine is Jjay inside, so I just copied that already. And so when you have SQL Server installed, so you also try to install SQL Server Management Studio. So when you try to install SQL Server Management Studio, you might have to download Visual Studio Installer, and it could be so download SQL Server Management Studio. So when you click on this, it might download. What you're saying is trying to download Visual Studio, but this is what we need to do. Right now, this is not downloading SQL Server yet. So this is downloading Visual Studio Installer. So this is an installer to install SQL Server Management Studio. And I think the beauty of this is that it allows us to do two things. So for us, what you would need to do is you need to install SQL Server Management Studio. Then you click on, for you, it's going to be like install. So you're going to install this first of all. So when you have this installed, this is installed, I will assume you just click on when you have this. So this just allows us to install the package. So you follow all the prompts. In case you want to know the step by step, go watch the video I made on how to install SQL Server, which I'm going to be linking in the description. Then we go to the SQL Server Management Studio. Then one of the things you try to do is you try to click on connect. So in case it's not showing up as connect for you, you just click on, so make sure you can either search for SSMS or you search for it in full. So we open this up. And you click on this, you click on connect. In case you're not seeing anything, we have this right here. So it's not showing anything for me, but you could try to just connect twice. Just try it again, and you're gonna notice it's still the Jjay inside. So if this step is not, if you failed in your connection, then the next step will not work. So try to figure out these steps first of all. So I have some database that are already reloaded, and so how did I load this database? I loaded the AdventureWorks database, and I showed in my SQL Server SQL video series how to load the AdventureWorks database. So but for you can just load in, you can create a database, because the reason why we might want to create a database is we can just say new database. Let me call this test DB. I'm going to call this test DB. So when I just do okay, so it has a test DB. Another thing you can do is you can load in a file, a CSV file in it. So let's just come to tags. I'll come to tags, import flat file. So let me import flat file. So make sure it's a CSV file. So let me just do this. Make sure you download the CSV file, not an Excel file. It's a CSV file that you need to use. So you click on open. Then you could this is customer nest. You could download any file. You could create any CSV file. This is so that we can have something in our, and we close this up. So I see that I have this table, and I can right click and select the top 1000. I have this data, so at least I have something in my server so that I could run SQL Server. So then you go next to your Visual Studio Installer. So when you have Visual Studio Installer, you can either just click on launch, or modify or like install in case it's not showing for you. In case you don't have this Visual Studio installer, you could also just come to the web and say install Visual Studio. So when we say install Visual Studio, so you can look at still the same thing. So it's still the free download, community, free download. So it's still this is the Visual Studio itself. You can go through this process or do that. So let's do that. So I'm not going to install the Visual Studio again. So remember, Visual Studio is different from Visual Studio Code. So make sure you are not searching for Visual Studio Code. So this is not what we want. What we want is Visual Studio. The logo would look exactly like this. Now that we have Visual Studio installed, so there are a few things we need to do. We can come here and also install SQL Server reporting service. So we install SQL Server reporting service. So this, when we install SQL Server reporting service, so that's what we need to do. So I'm just going to put up this link, not SQL Server. So this is not the right link. So it's saying SQL Server reporting service. Install SQL Server 2019 reporting service, SQL Server reporting service. Let me click on this again. And so this is what we want. So it's the 2019 SQL Server reporting service. You click on download, and let's just try to click on. So it's the 20. This is the latest version that we have here. In case at the time of you watching the video, you can have so I have set up blog because I have this already installed. So you will not have this installed. So first few things you could do is we come to SQL. You can search for configuration, and so what I want is report server configuration manager. So make sure it's report, either you search for report server configuration manager, you click on this. So when you click on this name is also going to appear again. So this name is coming back regularly. So we click on this, you click on connect. When you click on connect, then you click on database. So at a point, if you did not create the database that you were supposed to create you didn't create the database at all in SSRS, that's the SQL Server, SSMS, SQL Server Management Studio, you want to create the database. So that's one of the things you want to do. So you can either change database or create a new server database. You can create a new one. You can click on test connection and just clicking next and all. So I have a database already. You can do that, but that's not what I want to do. So the next thing is you want to do is you come to click on service accounts. You want to click on web service URL. When you click on web service URL, you're going to see some things here like probably to accept. So make sure you accept that. It's going to click on maybe accept. Just click on apply. So it's going to be something like apply. So I have the apply right here, and which I already applied mine. So when you're done with the web service URL, you come to this web portal URL, and when you come to the web portal URL, you're also going to click on apply. So then the next thing you're going to do is you click on this link, the link right here, the server. This is the reporting server in itself. So if I click on this link, this is going to be where my report will be. So when you click on this link the first time, it might not show you anything. So you just have to reload a few times. You need to reload a few times so that it's going to, you need to reload a few times. So let's go to, if that doesn't work, most likely it would not work. So you just have to click on this one, the one right here, then click on this. If it doesn't, it might not show up something, then you reload a few times. I created these folders already, and you can just create a new folder for yourself. So how did I create this folder? I could just create a new folder called maybe my report, my SSRS, or any name you want to call it, SSRS reports. Create. So that's something you want to do. Now, what I did for this data source, I'm going to come back to it. So remember that we downloaded Visual Studio. So you would go to Visual Studio, not the Visual Studio installer right now. So you would click on your menu and your search bar and click on Visual Studio. Like click on Visual Studio and click on open. So you might not see any of these. So you can say create a new project or continue without code, either way. But let me just click on continue without code. This opens up for me. So I need to like install reporting service also in Visual Studio. So Visual Studio is like a platform for you to also do a bunch of other stuff compared apart from just reporting service. So which you can do reporting service in Power BI, report builder, but we want to use Visual Studio. So click on file, and before you click on file, you want to go to extension and manage extension. And if I go to installed, I have a bunch of things installed, but one of the things you just search is just a reporting service. Search for reporting service. So you will see this, which is called Microsoft Reports Service Project. So I have this installed already. So when you install this, make sure you open. Let me try to uninstall, and it's going to take in a minute. So it's going to cancel uninstall. So I have it installed already. So when you install, you might see something like open up. So it's going to show, but in my download, this was installed already. So this is what it is. It's going to, when you try to install it, make sure you open it up. So which is the Microsoft, not the report builder. This is what it is. Yeah. So you make sure you just open this up and install it. So when you install it, it's going to have it right there. So that's something you need to pay attention to. So I'm going to cancel this up, and I'm going to go to, I have Visual Studio. In my Visual Studio right now, I installed reporting service already. So make sure, remember, when you open your Visual Studio, click on extension, manage extension, and install Visual Studio. When you install, you need to open it and also run the application. You just click on next, and that is literally the simple way. So when you have this already, just go close this out, click on file and click on new. When you click on new, one of the things you also want to know is that the type of file for Visual Studio, so the type of file for reporting service are called RDL. So that's the short form. If you run a reporting service in Power BI paginated reports, it's also going to be an RDL file. So you click on projects. So because you click on projects, you might not see anything pop up here, but you can just search for a report server. If you search for report server, and no, that's not, should be back. So if I search for report server, one of this is going to pop up. So if either you choose the wizard or the report server project, the wizard is just more like a template, or you choose report server project. So but for easy beginners, you can choose the report server project wizard. Then we click on that and we click on next. And you can call this any name, project 1, or you can also choose the folder you want it to be. Just going to leave it where it is, and I click on next. So for the data source, and this is something you really want to pay attention to. Let me make this bigger. So you will want to click on edit this credential. You can name this source any name you want to call it. So edit credential. So when you edit the credential, so you need a server name. Remember that's why I said in your we need to create, like in SSMS, we need to have created a server. So in case you have any other server and you have a table in it, but because we are using this test DB, so let's just use this test DB. That's the server name. And in case you want to copy the server name, I can just click on connect database and try to look for, but whatever name, this is test DB, that's what I want to use. So I come here. So remember, this is the database name, not the server name in itself. So this is my server name. My server name is the Jjay inside. This is what we've always been saying, like you needed to copy. So you come to your Visual Studio, that's the server name. When you copy the server name, if you don't have a lot of tables, I can just write test DB. It immediately brings it up, or even though I don't write it and I just click on this drop down, then it's going to show me. So it means if this is not dropping, that means something is wrong. I click on this test DB, that's what I want to use. Then you can click on test connection. If you say successful, then it means you are good to go. That's okay. Then we just click on okay. So you can copy this because we might need this for something, but we can also come back to get it. So we just click on next, and in case you want to get the query, normally you can use query builder, but sometimes you can run error using that. So you can just copy your code. Obviously, when you're doing a report, you will have done some of the manipulation you want to do in SQL already. I can copy this. Maybe this is what I want. So I copy this and I go to this and just click on next, and it says tabular, clip it as tabular, and I could leave it as this, that is this. Click on next, click on finish, and that's all. So when I have that already, so what I could do is look at in my data set. I have this data set right here, so I could close this out. You could click on, you could do some things here, but this is the data set. So what this does is it automatically puts in some of the stuff here. But in the other video, I'm going to be talking about like how to create your report more fancy. But just click on this. If I click on preview, I will be able to see my report in itself. That is that data. So, and because this data is in this server, if I keep loading this data, automatically this data here is going to be updated. But there's one more thing, in case you're just practicing, like you might not need to do this, but in case you want to know what is going on behind the scene for when you publish a project, remember that when we downloaded this, there was this website that we clicked. In case you close it, you could open it up again, and I created this in my SSRS report. So one thing you could do is when you work on a project, you could try to click on file. So I try to save report as maybe I want to put it in my download, and I call this report 2222. So I save this. So this is already in my download as a report builder. This is RDF file, so that's the type of the file. And I come to like my report server in itself. I can upload this anywhere. See, I'm on this link because I have access to it. So this comes here and I click on my SSRS report. This is the folder I created, and I can upload. If I upload this link, I upload this here and I click on open and cancel. If I click on this link, I will be able to access this report on the web. Another thing you could do if you're having issues accessing this report on the web but it's not working, one other capability is for you to create like a data source. And how do I want to create a data source? So I want to go back to an extent. So I have this folder called data source, which is I created an adventure work data source. But in case you want to create I could create a data source. The name is, I want to name it like the test DB. That's the same database. And the connection string, how do I get the connection string? Remember that I copied the connection string here, but I could just come here and change and data source property, not that data source property, and I copy this. So whatever is here is your connection string. So what this does is that in case I want to have my connection string on the web, I could just copy this and I click on test connection, that's connection successfully, and I create this. So this is my test DB. Now let's go back to like what I uploaded. So this is literally like you could go back and forth, create a folder, organize, move things around. I could decide to like, oh, I want to move this, manage, or whatever it is. This is a folder. So this is the report I just created, which is still working. So I could come back to this report and click on this info and manage. So manage is, I want to make some changes to this report. I click on manage. When I manage, I could come to the data source, and I said, oh, I don't want to use this data source that is here. I want to use this data source that is on this server in itself. And I click on the shared data source. I browse, I put my data source folder, and I click on this test DB, and I click on save. Then if I try to go back to where the report is itself, you see that the report is still working. So that's that about how to get started with SSRS. In case this video was a value for time, do well to subscribe, like, follow, and share. Thank you. Ciao.